now I'm in my second year of graduate school. Also, this is the U of C.
Finishing my PhD now in cell and developmental biology at UBC. When you're a researcher working in science, your life is not the same. First, you start with a project. There are different things that has to be done for that project. You use different techniques. You might collaborate, work with other people in the lab. The first few years of grad school was really hard in terms of balancing work life. Because I was new to grad school, to the project. I had to learn a lot of techniques. You have to pass courses.
But I think the thing to appreciate about graduate school, if you're going to a master's or a PhD, is that it's really just like working. The fact is you're just learning a lot of information that's crucial to your research, right? Getting a psychology degree doesn't necessarily mean you can become a psychologist. You can use psychology to become a business professional, right? Use your psychology knowledge to help navigate HR, human relationship dynamics, and whatnot. And I think there's a lot of skills that you learn in science that can take you down to a lot of different roads.
If you take some courses that actually involve lab work, or if you can get a job, like a summer job working in the lab, you would think that, do I like, because as a grad student in science, you need to spend a lot of time in the lab. So talk to people, even though if they're not science and they're like in arts and humanities, because every of these interactions have something to teach you. I would strongly recommend at some point, either undergrad or grad school, leave your hometown. You need to do that. You won't believe how much grow you would do just a year, even if you go for a semester or two for exchange or something.
I want to say taking introductory computer science can be very helpful. Because computer science is absolutely everywhere. You can't really avoid it. Some of us go into science because we hate writing, and truth be told, you can't run away from writing. I've learned that the hard way now. Science and all other professions, and you have to communicate your ideas, right? And that means either presentations or at the very least putting it down on a piece of paper.
I would say the best way to study, even in high school or once you're in university or for university, the best way to study is to study. That's your job. You have to study. It's not going to happen magically. If you're assigned to read chapters, you have to read it. Yes.
If you go into Indeed, right, and search up biology degree, you will get absolutely nothing. But if you search up the skills related to biology, or even just the knowledge, right, knowledge of sterile aseptic technique, something that you learn in microbiology, you can work in food processing and all these other things as researchers, as project management.
Once you go to university, there's so many of these career events and networking events, and they bring people from industry. Go to those events, make connections, know the companies that you would like to work. There are some set careers that most people know, for example, in academia, research. One thing that you can do, at least with a PhD, would be teaching in higher education. So you can teach in university or colleges.
Once you get a PhD, you are ultimately the expert in that field. There might be one to five of you guys who actually can answer these sort of questions. And I think that's a lot of, sense of pride and the reason why, we struggle so hard in graduate school to try to reach those points, right? The scale at which technology evolves, especially within the scientific community, absolutely astronomical. But when we look at the big picture, when we put that paper and then wrap up that story that we can tell, it looks very, very fascinating. And that's the reward that we get and why we pursue science.
As I started TAing, actually, become a teaching assistant and help with the undergrad courses, I figured that I'm much happier when I go to the class and interact with students and prepare the lecture notes. And
you don't have to love exactly what you're doing, as long as you're not hating it, as long as you're getting by, I think that's perfectly fine of emotional response to have with your career and with your job. I often recommend, students if you're very unsure of what you're going to do, right? Write out literally every single profession, right? I know that you're going to cross out a few, you're not going to want to become, let's say, not to degrade any careers, but let's say you don't want to become a janitor. Why not, right? You don't want to become a car salesperson. Why not? Ask yourself, what about those jobs you specifically do not want to like?
It's okay not to be okay. There will be, university is great. There will be great days that you would party with your friends, you would enjoy. There are nights that you're going to cry. There might be courses that you failed. I failed my Physics 100 course. I went through breakups. All of those things happen, but yeah, it's okay. Cry, eat ice cream, whatever coping mechanism you have, call your friends, but just keep going. This is life.